This is your 1-minute warm-up for your Q&A mock at 225 words a minute. Ready? Mr. McDonald, from the report, it shows the Ford pickup was 12 years old. Do you know if the Fargo Wells Company had recently purchased this pickup truck for company use, or if they had owned it for 12 years?
They had owned it for 12 years.
Did you know of any problems with the vehicle? Did it need new parts, for example, headlights, brakes, tail lamps, windshield, or anything?
It did not.
As far as you know, everything was in working order?
Yes, sir.
The cause of the accident, in your opinion, wasn't in any way caused because of any mechanical defects in the pickup?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did you see the plaintiff at all prior to the actual impact?
Yes, I did.
When you first saw the plaintiff's vehicle, where were you in relation to the stop sign that was on North Dakota Avenue?
I saw his vehicle when I was leaving the number 2 lane. I was starting to enter the number 1 lane.
Would this be the front of your vehicle?
Yes.
You were just starting to enter the number 1 lane?
Yes.
Okay, and where was the the plaintiff's vehicle when you saw him at that time?
He was in the number 1 lane.
Okay, and how far to the north? Okay, this is your Q&A mock at 225 words a minute. Your proper names are Quality Inn, Mr. Smith, Detective Lopner, Mr. Sloan, Charlie, and CPR. Ready? Have you been back to the Quality Inn since this incident occurred?
No.
Is that the only time that you were at the Quality Inn on those 2 occasions?
It was 3 occasions.
Okay, let me see if I have this right. You told us about the first occasion on December the 1st. You told us about the second occasion or on occasion on December the 10th. When was the third occasion?
There was a time before the December 1st one where I was introduced to Smith. Did I forget to mention that one?
What was the subject's name?
I don't want to tell you that.
Was there any conversation with regard to any purchase of narcotics at that first meeting?
Yes, there was.
Were you introduced by this subject to Mr. Smith at that time?
Yes, I was.
Do you know who was on the other end of the wire?
I don't recall.
Were you wired when you made the buy from Mr. Smith on December the 1st?
Yes, I was.
And do you know who was on the other end of the wire?
I don't recall at this time.
Were you wired on December the 10th?
Yes, I was wearing a wire.
And do you know who was on the other side of the wire?
I don't remember, no.
The person that introduced you to Mr. Smith, had you known that person before or ever seen him before?
Yes, I had.
For how long had you known him?
About a month.
Okay, had you used him before in transactions of this type?
I don't think I can answer that question.
Do you recall approximately how this person first brought you to Mr. Smith? Who did he say you were?
Just told him I was a friend from the beach.
How long have you been a police officer, sir?
Over 3 years now.
You told us that the shooting occurred on December 6th on direct examination. Are you sure about that date?
I didn't say a particular date, as I recall.
You didn't?
I was told the date of December 10th.
You don't have any independent recollection of what day it was on?
I believe it was on the 10th.
You did not say the 6th on direct examination?
No, not that I recall.
Did you read your report before you testified here today, if you wrote a report in this matter?
I didn't personally make it up, but I read a police report.
How many police reports did you read?
Just one.
Who wrote that report?
I believe Detective Lobner.
You aren't sure? You didn't bother to look to see who wrote the report you were reading?
No, I did not.
Did you read the entire report that you believe was prepared by Detective Lobner?
I read through that report, yes.
And you did that today, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever read it before today?
No, I didn't.
With respect to the shooting incident that took place, have you made any statements concerning it to any law enforcement agencies?
Yes.
Would you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you gave the statement to?
The homicide division.
And when did you do that?
The night of the shooting.
Did you see a report from the homicide division concerning this incident?
No, I have not.
Did you have anything to do with arresting Mr. Sloan?
No.
But you were the individual who shot him.
That is correct.
Mr. Sloan never pointed a gun at you, did he?
Yes, he did. He started to anyway.
Did he actually?
He raised his hand and I saw the gun.
And then you shot before he had a chance to shoot you?
That's right.
Was there a gun found on the premises after this incident?
I don't know. It should be in the report.
Did you personally look for a gun?
No, I did not.
Do you know whether anybody else on the scene looked for a gun?
The next morning they went and looked. I know that.
How are you sure of that, sir?
Because I was with them at that time.
And was that search productive? Did you find anything at the scene of the crime?
We didn't find the gun, no, but we did find a stash of narcotics.
Before you went to the Quality Inn that night, where did you first meet the suspect?
At a neighborhood bar. I think it was called Charlie's.
Had you been to this bar before that night?
Oh, yes, a few times.
So you were familiar with some of the people that worked there, possibly?
I knew that one bartender who was working that night, yes.
And you met up with the suspect in the bar first?
Right.
Were you wired at that point?
I was.
On how many occasions, roughly, sir, have you gone on assignments like this one where you were wired?
On a few. In my 3 years with the department, I have tried all areas of police work and found that I like undercover work the best. So that's what I've been doing mostly for the last year or so.
Before you shot the suspect, did you say anything or do anything to indicate that you were a police officer?
There wasn't any time. I saw him reaching for a gun and pointing it at me, and I just reacted. It happened in a matter of a second or two. It did.
Now, officer, after you shot the man, exactly what happened?
What do you mean?
Well, you shot him. Continue on from there with the events that transpired that evening.
Okay. Well, he fell to the ground. At that point, the other officer working with me in the unit came running up.
How did he know to come running up?
He had heard everything that happened over the wire. We made a tape recording of the whole incident.
Continue, please.
Well, I ran over to the man and started giving him CPR because his breathing had stopped. He still had a pulse. I yelled to my partner to radio for an ambulance and I began CPR.
Now, as a matter of fact, to become a police officer, you must learn CPR. Isn't that correct?
It's one of the courses at the academy, yes.
During your 3 years on the force, how often had you had to administer CPR before this evening, officer?
Probably twice or 3 times. I can't say for sure.
Getting back to the night in question, how long did it take for the ambulance to arrive?
About 10 minutes. Then
Stop this.